What's going on, my Jets family? I want to thank you guys for tuning in to the Take Flight Spit and Fire podcast. You got me, Harrison Glazer, here to talk to you about the Jets, and I'm very, very excited to be here with you guys. Unfortunately, the Jets could not pull out a win yesterday. And that I told you guys I was going to be getting into, some positional analysis. We're going to break down some stuff. And the main point of today's episode really is to show that, barring health, barring that everyone can, stay healthy, the guys that are hurt are healthy, this team is not as far away as many think. We've talked about it on here before, even the defense, that when healthy, it's the youngest team in the NFL. There's a lot of potential. One of the youngest teams in the NFL. There's a lot of potential here, especially as we're going to get into if the guys can stay healthy. First thing I want to do, if you guys can, if you haven't, if you can please subscribe to the channel, be greatly appreciated. You can do so by clicking in the bottom right corner of the screen over here on the logo. Be much appreciated. Thank you kindly. But before we get started, I want to jump into yesterday's game, because yesterday's game, I had a bunch of notes that I originally had, but you know what? I threw them out. I threw them out because there was one note that stood out to me the most. That one note is how at the end of the game, Zach Wilson had two fourth quarter comeback opportunities. Had a chance to come back twice. Both times, both opportunities were ruined by the offensive line. And in my opinion, the offensive line alone. All game, literally all game, Zach Wilson was under pressure and under duress. Even when he made the right reads, he didn't have time for the receivers to get open. The timing wasn't there. He was under pressure constantly. He was escaping the pocket, making very good throws. It prompted me at the end of the game, as many of you saw it, to just basically tweet that the offensive line, this offensive line that played last Sunday, failed Zach Wilson. And that's exactly what happened. Obviously, George Fant wasn't in the game. And man, if anything, I thought George Fant had potential. If anything, this showed how good George Fant has been. Because him out of the offensive line, they kind of sucked. I mean, AVT played, LDT played. Obviously, LDT wasn't 100, but George Fant, man, this guy, I can't wait till we get to offensive line. We're going to get into it because, man, George Fant has made me a fan. I have started to climb all aboard the George Fant train, all aboard. Let's ride this train because it is rocking right now. But we're going to work our way down a little bit. So we're going to start with the running back room. And I see you guys out there in the comments. Appreciate all you guys. See NFL, Jimmy's out there, NFL Chaos. What's up, my brother? Appreciate the what's up. Tom's out there. Appreciate you, my man. Appreciate you, Pure Adrenaline Sports. All you guys, much, much appreciated. Noah's here. Appreciate you, Noah, saying the defense is soft. They have been. And I think, as I've pointed out a lot on this show, I think the injury plays a huge factor. Injury plays a huge factor, and we're just a couple of positions away. We're going to talk about defense, but my take is, people who've been watching know that when healthy, I feel like we're just like an elite edge rusher and a couple of good safeties away. I legitimately feel that way. And we're going to talk about that. But I see all you guys, appreciate all you guys here. But let's jump in. Let's start with the running back situation. And again, bring your guys' comments. Please, talk amongst each other. Bring your questions to me. Let's do it. So the running back room, we're going to start positional way down. We're not starting with the quarterback because we're building a team around Zach Wilson. That isn't even a question. As you guys would agree with me, if you think the quarterback is a question, this is probably not the show for you. Let's just face that. So we're jumping into building a team around Zach Wilson to allow him to reach the potential that we know he can reach. So at running back, Michael Carter, man. Michael Carter has been everything I hoped he would be, everything I thought. You guys remember I kept saying he was slept on. This dude was better than Javonte Williams. But because Williams is 212 pounds, everyone's like, Javonte Williams. But wait a minute. Michael Carter, we've talked about it. Better yards per carry, more yards, more touchdowns, ACC records. Wait a minute. Hold on. He's been that running back one. And Tevin Coleman has been a nice number two compliment. And you know what? That's great. That's all he has to be right now. If he can compliment Michael Carter, awesome. I believe, I was going to look it up. I apologize, my guys. I believe Coleman is only 29. I'm going to look that up quick. I believe he's only 29 years. He's 28. So actually even better. He's only 28. Sign him to another 1-year deal. Like, that's easy. He'll be 29 next year. Compliments Michael Carter nicely. Easy. Sign him to a 1-year deal. Probably draft a running back in the later rounds. Now, like we got Michael Carter, that was a steal. Maybe it happens again, but you take a running back in maybe the 5th or the 6th. Take a later round running back. Obviously, P. Ryan hasn't gotten a chance. Maybe he'll get an opportunity. Running back room is set right there. Easy. Done. Because again, you got Carter, you got Coleman, you're bringing a rookie, you have all the other guys that are back there right now. Running back room done. That's easy. Moving on to wide receiver. I had felt, and I admitted I was wrong, I felt like I wanted to get a guy like Davante Adams, which, again, I'm still not going to say no. I mean, if Davante Adams wants to come to the Jets, then come on, baby. Come to me. Like, let's go. But I kept saying I wasn't sure if, Elijah Moore could be a wide receiver 1, mainly because of size, not because he's physical, not because he's not physical, which as you guys we've talked about, absolutely physical, one of the best slot wide receivers in the NFL in the last 2 years, arguably in the last decade, if you really wanted to bring the numbers up. I mean, this dude has been dynamite. A.J. Brown, who's killing it in the NFL, said that he felt that he was going to be better than him. That he said, dog, he said in their interview, he said, dog, you're better than me. That's what he said. You're better than I am. So that was huge. He's proven it. He has proven wide receiver 1 all over. Just absolutely all over. Just love it. Like, he has looked the part. He has lined up great against top corners pretty much in the league, and he's only a rookie. So Elijah Moore, I was wrong. I admit it. Wide receiver 1 from here into the end of days. I love it. Let's go. Now, Corey Davis is locked down long term. And as my boy, if you guys haven't checked it out, on Wednesdays, I do an All New York Sports podcast with my boy Pierre Moss. Me and Pierre were talking, and he pointed out, if you look at what Corey Davis got, he really didn't get wide receiver 1 big money. He got borderline wide receiver 2 money. And I thought about it, and he's not wrong. It's not a small contract, but it's not a huge contract by any means compared to what we've seen wide receivers get paid. So Corey Davis can be a decent wide receiver too, to Elijah Moore. You guys know how I feel about Keelan Cole. I think he's just slept on. I absolutely think it. I think when he gets opportunities, he's lightning. And not only that, he's a great locker room guy. I mean, he's the guy, we've seen him in the interviews. He's like, come on over here, Morgan. Like, let's talk. He's so much fun. He's energetic. He gets them going. People say all the time, like Robert Saleh, you can't pay enough for a locker room guy. So pay Keelan Cole. So I say bring Keelan Cole back, locker room alone. Jameson Crowder, Braxton Berrios, I'd bring him back. I honestly don't think either one is going to be super expensive. Neither one has been. Jameson Crowder had been one of the most dynamic slot receivers in the NFL, but this year, I don't have his yards in front of me, but I know he hasn't been great. He's having a mediocre pedestrian year. And Berrios has only been, a 200-something, 300-something yard season a guy tops anyway. So he's been playing well lately. Neither one should be too expensive. We have plenty of money. The point of money is to spend money. I've said this. Joe Douglas was brilliant in taking the money that was wasted on guys that didn't deserve it and getting it back quickly, like very quickly. But there's no award for not using it. You want to use it on the right guys. And I think you guys would agree from what we've seen. They're guys you want on the team. People say, I saw on Twitter the other day, oh, Jameson Crowder and Braxton Berrios aren't going to be outside press man cover receivers. Well, yeah. I mean, yeah. Look at their body size. That's not what they do. That's like complaining like, oh, Quinn Williams is never going to run a 4.40. Like that's your complaint? Like Berrios and Crowder, dynamic on the inside, dynamic. Moore's proven good on the outside. You got Corey Davis. You got Keelan Cole. You can draft another wide receiver. Maybe Denzel Mims is eventually going to show he can be the guy. So far, he's shown he hasn't. But the point is, as you see, wide receiver room looks great. Wide receiver room looks awesome. Maybe add a rookie. It's like the running back room. Add a later round rookie. Not the worst move. Not the worst move at all. Now, here's a position group for Zach Wilson that needs to be fixed because we are massively weak at tight end. And as we saw with Mark Sanchez to Dustin Keller, having a good, security option basically as a tight end is a huge advantage to quarterbacks. Eli Manning had one in Plaxico Burress. You just need that kind of a guy. Maybe more is going to be a security blanket, which I just love. Like maybe more, man. Maybe more. But you need a tight end. You need a tight end. So I could see the Jets potentially going for a tight end higher in this draft. We got picks. Joe got picks for a reason. Maybe second round, maybe third round. There's a bunch of draft guys, and eventually we will go back and talk about all the draft guys. We won't get into too many of them because it's a whole positional by positional, and we'll be here forever, which maybe some of you guys would like. But eventually we're going to get into the prospects. But you take a tight end, second round, third round, maybe you take two tight ends, higher round, later round guy. That would be a good move, in my opinion. So that's an easy one. You draft a couple of tight ends. Otherwise, I mean, you could re-sign Ryan Griffin. I think he has one more year left. So I don't think he has to be re-signed. You can re-sign Croft, depending on what he wants. But I think the draft is the way to go for tight end. But we talked about running back being good already and wide receiver already being good. So adding a dynamic tight end just makes things beautiful. Just makes it what you want. Dynamic outside wide receivers, a good option security guy in the middle, and a dynamic running back. Like, there you go. But the most important thing I think all of you guys will agree with, you need people to block for him. That's just how it works. You need people to block for the guys. We've talked about it all the time. People that say offensive line isn't a priority. Well, you've heard it from me and everyone else. Well, if the offensive line is the priority, the quarterback has no time to throw the ball. He can't make good reads. Wide receivers have no time to create separation. Running backs don't have any gaps to run through. It doesn't work. Football, as I've said a billion times, is won and lost in the trenches. I've said that my whole life. When Joe Douglas said that, that's what at first made me love him. When he said that, I was like, it's something I believe in. And I started looking into him, and we've talked all about it. This could dangerously turn into a Joe Douglas conversation. So I'm going to stop that right now. We're going to go back to offensive line. Too funny, guys. Too funny. So back to offensive line. Well, football is won and lost in the trenches. And if you want your team to play well, you need a good offensive line, just like a defensive line for the defense. That's how it works. Football is won and lost in the trenches. Now, Joe Douglas, when he came here, said he understood that. We've talked about it a lot. I think he's shown that. I think he's shown from the way he's drafted, from the guys he's gotten free agency, picking up guys mid-season like LDT. He's proven he understands offensive line. He understands defensive line with the guys he picked up last free agency, and he understands that it's a priority, and he gets talent. Those are two very important things, because we've had guys that understood priority but couldn't find talent to save their lives. We've seen it all too many times. We have a guy that can do both right now. So let's look at this offensive line. Now, I would like to believe that because the season is basically over, Mekhi Becton is not, he's not like at this point where they're like, oh my God, will he ever play again? Because we saw him running on the practice field, right? Like we've seen, there's only a few, but we've seen Mekhi Becton spottings. So it's not like the guy is lying up somewhere. So I'd like to think that he's just not 100%. His injury is nagging. I was going to say lagging. His injury is nagging. And, the season's basically over. And why force him out if he's not ready when you want to win, like Robert Saleh said, you want to win, but there's no playoff possibility here. So Mekhi Becton getting hurt or injuring his injury worse would be just the worst thing, and many, many worse. Just the absolute worst thing. So I'd like to think that there is option B where it is something. And we're going to talk about both, honestly. Now, I'd like to think it's A. I truly, truly do. I really think it's A in that, again, we wouldn't see him on the practice field running around. They wouldn't be talking about him. He wouldn't be taking to Twitter and saying, I'll be back soon and stuff like that if it wasn't true, because it just looks bad. So I think, again, it's just there's no reason to force him out. He's not ready. He's not 100%. So if that's the case, man, when he played, let's not forget who Mekhi Becton was. When healthy, he looked like one of the best rookie offensive linemen in the entire NFL. He looked like one of the best left tackles in the league and was graded as such. In fact, NFL Network predicted Mekhi Becton to break out this year as one of the best left tackles in the NFL. So with the way George fans playing, it's like, Everyone, we talked about this again. Obviously, Mike White's not the guy, but we talked about it when it's nice to have options. It's nice to have options. And that's a great option to have. Like, do we go with Mekhi Becton, the guy that looks like he could be an all-pro? Or we go with George Fant, who played like an all-pro almost last year. Like, that's a great problem to have. One will play left tackle, one will play right tackle. Both of them will be freaking fantastic. I love that situation, left, right, forward, and back, as I knock my notepad down. Left, right, forward, and back. So let's say option B, and it really is something, which I don't think it is, but it's possible. It's very possible that Mekhi Becton has a lingering injury or something. I don't want to say it, and I'll bite my tongue, but let's just say, he's injury prone, like people say, which again, I disagree with. And that's very important to say I disagree with that. But let's just say it is. Well, if that's the case, Morgan Moses has played decent at right tackle, and George Fant has looked damn good at left tackle. We just talked earlier when we started the episode about how George Fant being out, just George Fant alone, changed the entire dynamic of that offensive line. That is huge. That's a statement. That 1 man out of 5 changed everything. So, him at left tackle, I'm cool with. Like, again, if the Jets come out next year and go, Mekhi's healthy, Fant staying at left tackle, I'm not complaining. Like, Fant has earned it, in my opinion. This dude, it was shown last week. It was shown last week that 1 man, he makes or break this offensive line this year. So, I'm cool with him being left tackle. Now, we have Morgan Moses. We could sign, people point out guys like Evan Neal. Draft. My apologies. You can draft a guy like Evan Neal. There's a lot of options there. So there's options for scenario A and scenario B. I really think it's scenario A, and I mean that. I mean that I think, honestly, that he's okay, and that, again, it's just he's not ready to go, and they feel maybe not, he's not hurt. He's probably like 75%. I don't know. 60-something percent. Pick your percentage. I don't know. But he's not 100, and they don't want to risk it. It's just stupid. Like, there's no point right now in risking it. That's why when they asked him about it, he said there was no update, but he laughed. That's important to mention. Robert Saleh laughed a little bit and said there's no update on Mekhi Becton. Like, so I don't think there's any serious worry there. I don't. I truly don't. But if there is, George Fant has been freaking believable. Now, left tackle Xavier Thomas, that's easy. The guys look like one of the better pass blockers my apologies, because it's actually the opposite. He's looked like one of the better run blockers in the NFL as a rookie, not just with rookies. He's looked like one of the better run blockers in the entire NFL. Now, I pointed out, I think it was like week 9 or something, don't remember, that I felt ABT did not look good in pass coverage. I got a little flack for it, but it turns out I was right, because I've seen his pass grades, and they haven't been that great. Not that he's awful, but that's his biggest area for improvement. So what ABT needs to do in this offseason is totally work on pass rush. Like, your run block is amazing. Work with Fant, I guess, because Fant has been killing it, but figure out that pass rush. At center, I want Tyler Lindenbaum. You guys have seen the film. You've seen what this kid can do. You remember last year I talked all about Creed Humphrey. The biggest thing with me was not just that he was a beast and a mauler, but his cerebral traits. We talked about, again, Nick Mangold being able to call plays, call adjustments. There's nothing more valuable than a center that can identify a blitzer to a quarterback or identify a shift that means an entirely different defense. Now, that's invaluable, like literally invaluable. And it just so happens Creed Humphrey has looked like not just the best rookie, but one of the best centers in the entire game as a rookie. So it sucks there. My issue, I love Lindenbaum's physical abilities. This kid he used to be a wrestler like Mangold was. Like, this dude, I put a video up on Twitter. Please see it if you didn't. This dude murders people. This dude just flat out, he's the guy that you see, I forgot the commercial where he's like, I pick dudes up and I put them down. Like, that's Lindenbaum. Like, this dude's a beast. Does he have the cerebral traits? People have asked me that, and I honestly don't know. From what I've seen, I haven't heard enough about him studying film and understand. I haven't heard enough about that, so I honestly don't know. And that was what I loved about Creed so much. And believe me, I like ABT. I really am glad we have ABT, but man, I think we missed out on Creed. I truly do. I truly, truly do. But Conor McGovern, could maybe play guard. He can battle it out with LDT, and I think that's the best situation right now. McGovern has proven to be not that good, and we've seen that. He's not bad, but he's also not good. We have to accept both. People have been saying, yeah, he's not bad, but he's also not good. We deserve better, and we need better if we're going to protect our rookie quarterback. It's that simple. So you get one offensive lineman in the draft. Got to take him high. I say you take him with the second first-round pick. You get Tyler Lindenbaum. You plug him into that offensive line. Now, Laurent Duvernay-Tardif is battling it out with Conor McGovern for the right guard spot. Let the best man win. Honestly, I think LDT is going to beat him. I'll be honest. I think LDT is going to beat out McGovern. I do, but we'll see what happens. Right tackle, we talked about it. Either it could be another rookie potentially, or I think Becton's going to be fine. If that line is Mekhi Becton or George Fant, let's say, one of the two, AVT, Tyler Lindenbaum, LDT or Conor McGovern, and then either Mekhi or George Fant, whichever one's not playing left tackle, I think that's a damn good offensive line. I think that is a damn good, underappreciated offensive line that, again, as rookies, players tend to struggle. Linderbaum will be helped out by the fact that AVT is a second-year guy. LDT and McGovern are seasoned veterans. They'll help pick up alignments, and AVT should be much better in his second year. I truly do feel that the offensive line is just that one piece away. You plug in a guy like Tyler Lindenbaum, I think everything changes. I truly do. And people say, oh, we shouldn't go offensive line that high. Well, if you watch the last game, you know that's clearly not the case, because Fant showed us how one good offensive lineman can make or break an entire offense. He literally showed us that. And McGovern, like we said, though he has had good games, he's also had bad games. We need better. So you get Linderbaum, plug him in at center. That dude's going to be murdering people for the next decade. LDT or McGovern, battle it out for right guard. I think that's a damn good line. I truly, truly do. I think offensive line fixed. And again, it wasn't even that much work. I'm not talking about complete overhauls here. And that's the whole point. You're going to notice with every position, I mention one guy or no guys. That's why I say it's close. We're close. We're a couple of good tweaks away. We really are. So we look at interior defensive line, and this is one of the positions I feel that we're set on. I mean, Quinn Williams didn't play last game, and it was obvious. But when Quinn Williams plays, he's amazing. Quinn Williams is awesome. Excuse me. So we know who Quinn Williams is. Obviously, he's the guy in the middle. I think Foley being out, Rankins has looked okay at times. I think Foley slept on, guys. Foley has always been an excellent run blocker, but he's been developing as a pass rusher this season. He's been looking pretty damn good, and I think better than Rankins, because Rankins has been okay. They didn't look good with Rankins still in there with Quinnen and Foley out. But when Quinnen and Foley played in the middle, that interior looked pretty damn good, and it stopped the run. So you got Quinnen and Foley. Foley's got to be re-signed, but again, he's been quality, but he hasn't put up huge numbers because he's been more of a rotational guy. He hasn't put up big enough numbers. We're talking like $4 million a year. Like same thing with guys like Berrios, potentially maybe $2 to $3 million a year, and Crowder maybe 5 or 6. That's not insane money when you have money to spend, when you want quality players on your team. So you got Quinnen, you re-sign Foley. Rankins is in a 2-year contract. See, he's there automatically. You got rookie Jonathan Marshall, who's just slept on. Jonathan Marshall, as we've talked about, had the game-winning safety and a sack in his first ever preseason game. First ever game he plays, comes in the game, game-winning safety. So he's got tons of potential right there. So I don't think you even need to add to this unit. This is a unit. It's good. Don't touch it. Just re-sign Foley. Let Nathan Shepard walk. Re-sign Foley and let that unit do its thing. Now we go to edge rusher, who also many people think is so far off. But as you know, we talked about Carl Lawson. In the NFL, I've said it about Teddy Bridgewater. I've said it about Dak Prescott. When you come back from a huge, huge injury, you have to come back stronger and better than you were before that injury, or you're never going to make it work at this level. Because this is the NFL level. Most players barely make it here, period, let alone coming back from a massive injury. So all those guys we mentioned came back stronger. Well, Carl Lawson, again, we don't 100% know. Excuse me, guys. Take a drink of water here. Carl Lawson is right now on track to be back sooner than he was supposed to be back. He's progressing faster than, what like the timetable was supposed to be. That's a good sign. Again, it's no guarantee, but it's a good sign. Now, Bryce Huff has potential, definitely does. This is the unit, guys. This is the unit I remember you said you got to go high. This is it. So Thibodeau I look at him like Myles Garrett, basically. This is the guy that everyone's like, okay, there's him, and then there's everybody else. So we have 2 first-round picks. I think we could legitimately trade, I haven't looked at the order right now based on, I know we were 5th or 6th around there. I could bring it up, show you guys what I'm thinking if you give me 1 minute. I look up the order, the draft order, right here. The Jets currently have the 4th and the 8th overall pick. I don't think you need to trade both. For example, I think you could trade, because the 4th is not a huge drop, depending. Now, here's the thing. The first pick, as of right now, is owned by Jacksonville. And Jacksonville just got their quarterback. They could really want a guy like Thibodeau. That's the thing. That's the kind of place you want to put a guy like that. Like us, basically. A team that just took their quarterback and needs an elite, edge rusher guy. Someone that can get to the quarterback, like your next Von Miller, your next Khalil Mack, all those guys. So many. The list goes on and on and on. I'm not going to say we'll name them forever. But potentially, maybe you can trade up to 1, I'm thinking. Let's say if you traded the 4th, and it sounds like a lot, but let's say the 4th, the 39th, which is your 2nd round pick, and then maybe a 4th or 5th round pick. It sounds like a lot, but again, you're getting a guy that's like the next Myles Garrett. That's what this team needs. We need the next elite edge rusher. If Carl Lawson can stay healthy, you put him next to Thibodeau with a Quinnen and Foley on the interior of that line. I pity the quarterback. I pity the quarterback that has to be on the other side of that line, because he's going to be dead within a quarter. They're going to be murdering him because you double team Quinnen. You can't. That's the point. Teams are double teaming guys like Quinnen. Foley's a beast. If Lawson comes back, or let's say again, God forbid, biting my tongue again, there's no guarantee. Let's say he can't. Well, this team has proven, John Franklin Myers is good. John Franklin Myers is a quality player. We've re-signed him. He can line up inside and outside, but he's not the elite edge rusher. He's not the Khalil Mack. He's not that Von Miller. He's not that kind of a guy. The guy that's going to go elite in that draft for a reason, like Myles Garrett, because he's going to have 15 plus sacks every year for the rest of his career. That's what we need. That's honestly what I feel like this defense truly needs. You find a way to trade up. Joe Douglas is a freaking magician in these drafts. I think I know stuff. Then he does something and I'm like, I don't know shit. This guy, he's just got it. So he'll figure out a way, or maybe he can figure out a way to get him. And if you walk away with, let's say you trade up for Thibodeau, and then you can get Linderbaum with your next pick, draft 1, everything else is just gravy at that point. I'm sitting back, I'm like, I'm good. Draft 1 at that point. You won the draft. It's over. The Jets get a big trophy, win the draft. It's over. The crowd goes wild. So you add in a top, but let's say it isn't even Thibodeau. There's other guys like Hutchinson. There's so many top guys. Thinking, like I mentioned, we're eventually going to get into draft guys. We're going to do that. We've already been here, we're getting through the whole team. We're talking about it. But getting a top elite edge rusher, I think, could be the big difference here. Because if Carl Lawson can go, then, man, the two of them are just going to be eaten. They're going to be killing people. But even if he can't, at least you got that next guy. You got him. So that's the one position I think needs to be aggressively addressed, with potentially getting one of the best edge rushers in the draft. I'm thinking, again, you walk away with one of the best centers, or the best center, honestly. You walk away with the best center in Linderbaum. You walk away with Thibodeau or another top edge rusher. I think that dynamically changed both sides of the ball immediately. Immediately, based on all the other positions we've mentioned, that's dynamic change right there. Because we look at the linebackers, that's another position that I know many may argue with, but I think we're pretty good. I think we're pretty damn good at linebacker, and here's why. We have a guy that we've talked about named Hamza Nasruddin. Hamza Nasruddin has infinity-like potential. This dude could have been a first-round guy, potentially, putting up over 100 tackles basically a season. He was unbelievable. If you haven't seen the college tape I put up of this kid, he looks unbelievable. The fact that he went as late as he did is almost a crime. But he can't see the field because C.J. Mosley's playing so well, because Gerard Davis was playing so well, and Quincy Williams is currently playing so well. See, he can't even see the field. Plus, we have Jamie Sherwood, who was looking not bad as a Mike linebacker. He was playing middle linebacker when he was healthy, the rookie, and he didn't look bad. So you have these two guys. Sherwood's obviously out for the season, but Nasseldine's waiting in the wings, and he can't even see the field because Mosley's look great. Gerard Davis can be re-signed. Gerard Davis is on a one-year deal. You just do another one. Do another one-year deal. Done. Solved. He's back. Quincy Williams has been dynamic. The best thing Joe Douglas has done has taken Quincy and reunited him with his brother. Not the best thing he's done, but arguably one of the top things he's done because it's helped both of those players. If you look at the tape, Quinn Williams has played more aggressive and more fierce since his brother has joined the team. It's like there's another gear inside of him. The two of them are so happy to be on the same team together. They truly do at their young age. They understand that it's the NFL. It's a, fallible is not the right, people change like that. If they have to play at a high level, if they want to stay on the same team together, that's the answer. And I think they know that. And Quincy Williams, since being with his brother, has been everything people expected him to be. Well, we always knew he was fast. We always knew he was a hard hitter. Like he puts people down. Like he hits them and they're like, what was the license plate of that bus that just hit me? And we talk about him being super fast, but some of the biggest knocks on him were his tackling and his coverage. Well, he's been damn good tackling this season, and I think he looked pretty good in coverage in that Saints game. He was all over the middle of the field there. So Quincy Williams has really been developing. So you got Quincy. You got Jamie Sherwood, who again, was playing middle linebacker before getting hurt and looking really good. Hamza Nasruddin can't even get an opportunity. You got Gerard Davis. This is why maybe I'm crazy. But I'm thinking, honestly, maybe the Jets could move on from C.J. Mosley at the end of the season. I'm thinking, and hear me out. C.J. Mosley is having a career year right now. What better time to get a decent draft pick for C.J. Mosley? I mean, I love the guy. Since coming back, again, he's come back stronger and healthier and faster. You can't ask for more. He's come back 20 pounds lighter. He's faster. He's all over the field. PFF is disrespecting the hell out of him this year. He is on track to have a career year in almost every category, and PFF is ripping him to shreds. It's crazy, but if he's doing this well, maybe you can get a second-round pick for him. Maybe you can get a third-round pick. I mean, that's a guy you could turn around and turn. Obviously, Joe Douglas has shown us into something quality, something really good. So, again, you got Jamie Sherwood, Hamza Nasruddin, Gerard Davis, Quincy Williams. You could draft a guy if you wanted later in the rounds. Depending, C.J. Mosley may not be back. It's interesting to think about. But if he does, it's even better. So the linebacker room's done. That's another room just like interior defensive line. IDL and linebacker, they're good. They're set. You add in that dynamic top of the draft edge rusher, God willing, it's Thibodeau. I mean, just wow. That's it. So corner is another one. And you guys know, I was one of the first ones talking about it. Remember? In the offseason, I was saying everyone was going, oh, well, the Jets cornerback room, it's all these late round guys. They're going to suck. And I'm like, well, how do you know that? Like, just because they're late round guys doesn't necessarily mean they're going to suck. We've talked about it. You guys have been here, but I love Bryce Hall. Bryce Hall was my guy. Like, I watched this kid at Virginia, and I wanted him bad. Like, in that 2020 draft, like, Mekhi Becton and Bryce Hall were my two favorite picks. Like, those picks, I was like, that's it. Then he got my guy Bryce Huff undrafted, and I was like, I think I'm in love with Joe Douglas. Because all the other picks, he likes the same guys I like, as we've talked about. We talked about it in this last draft, that the guys he takes. I wasn't looking at all of them. Then I went back and I was like, damn. Okay, yeah, I love them all. You remember, I was like, I love every pick. Like, I went back, I reanalyzed, I looked at all the guys, love them. Love every pick. Just loved it. But At corner, you got Bryce Hall, lockdown CB1. I'd said at the beginning of the season that after what I saw last season, he looked like he can be it. I always knew he had potential to be a starter, but man, what I saw in limited time last year, he looked it. I was saying he's going to be a lockdown guy this year, and he has. He's graded in the 90s. He's one of the few Jets players that's graded in the 90s. So CB1 is a lockdown. I think Brandon Echols was slept on. I was saying it all before this last game. You guys remember, I was talking all about Brandon Echols, all about his stats, his combine numbers, everything that impressed me. Thought he could make a damn good CB2. Looked good before he got hurt. Well, he had that pick yesterday. He had the pick. He was good, man. Brandon Echols was developing. That's what rookies do. Rookies aren't going to be. Look at Michael Carter II, another guy we could talk about at corner because that's what we're up to. Michael Carter II, in the first quarter of the season, we were talking about it. You remember, everyone's like, dude, he's putting up Darrelle Revis numbers. Like, this dude is killing it. He hasn't been bad. I mean, he's calmed down a little bit like a rookie would. Give me a second. But rookies, like we talk about with quarterbacks having ups and downs, everyone forgets that applies to all positions. It goes across the board. There's going to be ups and downs. Look at Elijah Moore. In the beginning of the season, everyone's like, where's Elijah Moore? He can't catch the ball. He's got all these drops. Well, these last couple of games, like we said, everyone's turned around. I'm even at the point, he's a wide receiver 1. Elijah Moore, like, he's my guy. Like, put him to Zach's right every day for the next decade. Like, let's go, baby. But Brandon Echols, we've talked about it. Kid jumps a 4.35 40 and has a 42.5-inch vertical. Like, this dude can run and jump with, like, anyone. Like, pick a height, pick a speed. Like, he's got you. And he proves sticky in coverage. All the beginning of the season, I was like, well, this dude can play. Like, he's on those corners. His pursuit was ridiculous. He had good ball tracking skills, too. And he showed it yesterday with an interception. So you got Bryce Hall at CB1, Brandon Echols CB2. We've talked about the potential of Jason Pinnock. Maybe he steps up at CB2, but you got Echols. You got Michael Carter II on the inside there, looking like one of the best next stars at slot cornerback. You got Javelin Guidry, who didn't have a good game on Sunday, but was having damn good games the rest of the season. Second-year undrafted guy, and he proved earlier in the season he can play on the outside. The dude's like my height, and he's like, I can play on the outside. And I was like, yeah, maybe we'll see. And then I was like, okay, he can play on the outside. Like, that too was balling pretty well. So I think, again, the corner room's a pretty set room. I'm thinking originally, you guys remember, I was all over Derek Stingley Jr. Like, I'm like, bring me Derek Stingley Jr., pair him up with Tyler Lindenbaum, let's go. But I've rethought about it. I've rethought about it because I look at this corner room and I'm like, this room is legit. Like, Joe Douglas is not getting enough credit for a unit that everyone's like, is all late draft picks. Yet now they're one of the best young corners in the NFL as a group, and no one's taken notice of that. So I don't think we need to do that anymore. I'm thinking you get that top edge rusher. You get a guy that can get to the quarterback, because that's been our biggest problem forever. We were so excited about Carl Lawson because we were finally getting edge rusher that can get to the quarterback. Let's draft one, guys. Let's draft the next Von Miller, right? Like, let's draft the next Myles Garrett. Like, let's draft the next elite edge rusher. Like, that's what I'm thinking. So I'm saying corner, just like Joe did this year. Maybe 4th. Obviously, he went 5th and 6th. Maybe you'll do that again. Later round cornerbacks. That's what I'm thinking. I mean, it's not like Joe Douglas hasn't proved he can't find them already. And can he find them? These guys are 2 5ths, a 6th, and 2 undrafted guys, I'm pretty sure. And they're killing it. They're absolutely killing it. He can find late round corners. He can do that. So I'm thinking, again, you get that top edge rusher in the draft. You walk away with Tyler Lindenbaum, who, as we just talked about earlier when we talked about the line, completely fixes that offensive line. I think you're balling, man. I think you do. So I want to check out your guys' comments. Appreciate all you guys in there. Safety, though, that like tight end right now is one of our biggest holes. This is one of the biggest holes on this team currently. And we don't have any safeties right now. Poor Elijah Riley, like, that was rough last week. Like, just shout out to him quick. Like, that hit was so bad, they couldn't even show it. Like, they were like, we can't even show you this hit. So I'm glad he's okay. They said he's in concussion. If you guys didn't hear, I put that on Twitter. They said that Elijah Riley's in concussion protocol and he had a concussion, but they say he's good right now and he might actually be back this week. So that's exciting. The kid's okay. So the kid's okay. Power to him. He's a Long Island guy, just like myself. He actually lives in Port Jeff, like myself. So I'm quite excited. Like, that's a Long Island native right there. That's good stuff. So, but we need safeties. We need safeties. But as we saw with Jamal Adams, I don't think we need to go safety high. Let's be honest here. Like, I don't think we need to take a safety high. People are talking about guys like Hamilton going high for a safety. I don't know. I mean, like, I don't think we need to, honestly. Safety's not a premium position. And our young corners have really been dominating. Again, Echols and Carter are just in their first years. They're rookies. And Hull's only in his second year, and he's making major progress. Well, when Hull's in his third year, and those guys are in their second year, I think they could really be balling, like really balling. So you get a couple of late round maybe like a second or third round safety highest. I would take 2 safeties through the draft. Like maybe take a safety in the 4th and then maybe one in the 6th or the 5th or something, and potentially get one in free agency. Remember, we didn't even talk about free agency. So all these fixes we've talked about, we didn't even mention free agency. So the whole point I've hopefully got across through this episode is that we're not as far off as people think. That's the big key, because you hear people watching these Jet games and they're watching the games that are blowouts and they're like, well, we suck. Yeah, well, we do suck right now, but this team is not that far off when it's healthy. If this team can get healthy, Joe Douglas already proved he can be a good drafter, already proved he knows what he's doing in free agency. We could theoretically be competitive in one more year. That's what this means. With all these positions I just mentioned, if you do good in free agency, maybe get a safety, maybe another corner, let's just say perhaps, maybe a tight end, maybe another offensive lineman. And then in the draft, you take an edge rusher high. You get Lindenbaum next, and then you even it out with some corners, some tight ends, some safeties. I think this team is good to go. Again, I feel like I just mentioned before, there was no position that I mentioned that wasn't 1 or 2 guys off. There was no position really other than safety, which is a 2-person position anyway. And Ashton Davis, he's been back and forth. He's had like great games and then not so good games. So if he can be consistent, that would be good. But safety is just a 2-position thing, 2 people. So we're not as far off as everybody thinks. But one key thing, we need a kicker. You guys, we need a kicker so bad it's insanity. Like, I know we have Eddie Pinheiro right now, but let's think about this for a second. We thought we had Matt Amendola. I was one of them. Matt Amendola was like, 4 for 4, 5 for 5 when he first came here like Eddie was. And I was like, man, that's the guy. I literally said, I'll be honest, I was like, we finally have a kicker. I think it's because I'm so starved for a kicker like you guys that like right when a guy hits a couple in a row, I'm like, put him in the Hall of Fame. Like enshrine him in gold. Like, it's crazy. But Matt Amendola did the same thing. So we're going to have to see with Eddie Pinheiro. I mean, he's had a couple of shots on other teams. It hasn't worked out for a reason. We need to draft a guy. That's what it really comes down to. The best kickers in the league were drafted by a team, and then they never hit free agency. Guys like Gostkowski, Janikowski back in the day. He played with the Raiders until the dude was like 100. I mean, great kickers rarely hit free agency. So we got to draft one. That's it. This year, no question. Like, we have to draft a kicker. I haven't looked into him yet, but the answer is we got to draft one. We have to find a kicker in the draft. We have to. So that's my take on this team. As you guys saw, no positions are like, it's not like we're a million light years away. As you noticed, a lot does come down to health, and I think that's key. A lot of this comes down to, I mentioned guys that need to get healthy. But even still, I mentioned even without Mackay, we have Fant. You can get another right tackle. Moses hasn't been bad. If, let's just say, God forbid, I hate to say it, but let's just say, God forbid, Carl Lawson can't go. Well, you still got, if you draft that top elite edge rusher, then that's what you need. Like, if we can get Thibault, like, that's it. If you can get him, like, that's what people are going to be excited about. Having Carl Lawson back will just be icing on top of the cupcake. If we get Thibault, that's all people are going to be talking about. Like, come on, you guys know that. So Yeah, man. I appreciate all your guys' comments. I see you guys all in here. Appreciate all of it. Jeremy does point out, that Hamilton could be a good guy. He definitely could. And I think I pointed it out last week. Like, and again, haven't dug too much into the prospects. I've watched my hand share of games, but I haven't dug into the film yet as much yet. I'll be honest with that. But from what I've seen with Hamilton, he's reminded me like Trayvon Moehrig did. And I mentioned that I believe it was last week. How when you watch Trayvon Moehrig in coverage, you're like, well, why is this dude not playing corner? Like, he's sticky as hell. Then he like plays at the box and he murders like a running back or a quarterback. And you're like, oh, that's why he's playing safety. So don't get me, I get it. Like, I get why Hamilton's going high. Like, I'm not questioning that. Like, if a team takes Kyle Hamilton at like 6 or maybe 5, like 7 or so, I'm not going to freak out. I'm not going to be like, oh, that was a bad pick. I just don't. We saw it with Jamal Adams. Safety's not a premium position. Even when the safety is one of the best players on the field, which even though Jamal Adams has sucked since he's been with Seattle, and we got to appreciate that, guys. He's sucked since he's been there. He was one of our better players. But safety's just not a premium position. It just isn't. So don't get me wrong. I get it. Like, I totally get it. Yeah, and I appreciate all your guys' comments. I see you guys, you're talking about Kyle Hamilton a little bit. New York Jets fan, shout out to you, my man. You're saying, I said Jonathan Marshall was a diamond in the rough, and man, the guy has burst in power. Man, he does. He really impressed me. I was impressed in last year's draft process when after we drafted him, I think it was like the end of the 6th round, I believe, or maybe the beginning of the 7th. It was a really, really late pick. They'd said that he had like the 99th percentile among defensive linemen. Like, this dude had like a 4, I don't know, it was like a 4.8 40, but he had like 30 something bench reps. Like, John Marshall was just a beast. And if you watched him at college with A&M, this dude was just, he was in the backfield a lot. Like, he's fast. He's really fast. Like New York Jets fan points out, that burst for a nose tackle. Like, he's quicker for a nose tackle than you would think he would be, honestly. I've seen him with some moves. He's pretty nimble out there. He really is. So he's a slept-on guy. He's totally a slept-on guy. Also point out we need a veteran at tight end. We need a vetted safety. Free agency, man. And that's what I'm saying. I talked about all those positions. Like I saw Jeremy was saying, he's saying he thinks we're very far off. I don't know, man. I don't think, again, this defense is far off as we were saying. Because we said before, linebacker, I don't think an issue. Cornerback, I don't think an issue. You get a couple of good safeties. The interior defensive line, I don't think it's an issue. Just re-sign Foley, get that elite edge rusher. And you have free agency. You could bring in another veteran at tight end, bring in another veteran at safety. It works. So I honestly feel like with another really good free agency and a really good draft, which I've said it, and I said it back in June. I don't know, I think it was like before, I think it was like May. I think that this last draft class of the Jets could potentially go down as one of the greatest Jets draft classes of all time. I said it then, and I still truly believe it. From Zach Wilson to Elijah Moore to AVT to Michael, all the way down. I think this could be one of the best drafts in Jets history. And that's why, you guys remember, I said it for a long time, I never trusted the process. I mean, we had freaking Itzik and freaking, oh my God, McCagnon. Like, I don't even want to think about it. Like, it feels like it was so long ago now. It's like, oh man, it was the worst. It was just a decade of just not knowing what you're doing. And literally, like, what they should have done, they should have asked what they wanted to do and then done the exact opposite. That should have been the Jets' plan for those years. Like, you want to draft that guy? Okay, cross him off the big board. Like, that's what I'm thinking. Cross him off the board. Who else do you like? Like, that's what I'm thinking. So, man, Jets King points out Marshall didn't look bad yesterday. He did not, man. He did not. Davis can't tackle for nothing. That was one of his biggest knocks coming in. People said he's very athletic. He's a big hitter, but he's not the best tackler. Man, I think Nasruddin is slept on. He's not even getting an opportunity because these linebackers, as we talked about, have looked so good. I can't believe he's not getting a chance. Like, I want to see Nasruddin show. Like, that would make me really excited to see this kid, like, looking dynamic as the season ended, leading into the offseason. Like, that will get me excited. But he's still there. So's Jamie and Sherwood, who look damn good. I honestly think we could move for Mosley, but like I mentioned before, but you still got him. Uh, Quincy Williams has been dynamic. I think that linebacker room's a little slept on. I do. I think obviously it's young and it needs work, but I think it's slept on. I do. And I appreciate all your guys' comments. Jet Gang says, I agree we can take a CB in the 3 or 2. Maybe even later, man. I'm telling you. I mean, if you have your CB1 and CB2 and you're set with them, and Michael Carter, 3 of the Bryce Hall, hands down, has been a star. I think Brandon Echols is going to show that he can be one. And Michael Carter has also been a star. Honestly, man, I don't know. I don't think you need to that high. I honestly think the Jets could do like they did this year. Maybe get like 2 guys. We got 3 this year. Maybe get 2 guys, 5th and 6th. I mean, Joe, he hit this year with those guys. So why wouldn't he do it again? I mean, he obviously has proven he knows late round corners. Let's bring some more late round corners in the mix and use those other 2 positions. So I'm with you, Jets gang. I don't know about linebacker. So cross off linebacker, edge rusher, safeties. That's honestly how I feel. I feel like a dynamic edge rusher. That's the key. I'm not talking another free agent guy. I'm talking the guy that doesn't hit free agency. Making this clear, and this is important. I want the Jets to get a guy that never hits free agency. Like I said, our Von Miller, who became a free agent after how many years? Our Khalil Mack, unique situation. Myles Garrett's been with the Browns. I'm talking those career guys. That's what I want. I want an edge rusher that is going to be 12 to 15 plus sacks every year, guaranteed. That's what we need. We haven't had one of those. Arguably, even Jonathan Abraham wasn't even one of those because he was good, but we only had him for a limited time. So you could argue we have never ever had a guy of the caliber that I'm talking about. I want that guy. So I really feel like you plug that guy into this equation and you even out the safeties. I think this is a solid defense. Everyone's staying healthy. The guys I mentioned, I really do think this is a solid defense. But again, just to be clear, I'm not talking about any edge rusher. I want that top draft guy. Like, give me Thibault. That's what I'm saying. Let's find a way to bring in our Myles Garrett. Like, that's what we need to do. Jets Kid saying the same thing. That's why I don't want to take Stingley. Man, I realized it. Like, I think it's just because, again, it's Derek Stingley. You know what I mean? Like, I've been, like, high on Derek Stingley for, like, 2 years now. So I think he's been one of the best corners, period, in college. Even when he was a rookie, people are like, this dude's going to be a high draft pick. Like, come on. So, like, I guess I'm just enamored. Like, I always wanted Derek Stingley. But again, like I take a step back and I'm like, Hall obviously is the guy. I think Echols is going to be the guy. You got Carter. You don't need that. You get that edge rusher. You get that elite edge rusher. That way, if Carl can play, like we said, it's just killer. Those 2 guys are going to have like Carl Lawson, and that guy will be like our next Gastineau Klecko. That's what we're talking about. Like just boom, 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 boom. And then you still got Quinnen and Foley in the middle there potentially. So I'm telling you, man, that's my biggest thing. Get that guy. But I appreciate all your guys' comments. Appreciate everything you guys are bringing here. Yeah, funny. Yeah, I lost my note. Even though, honestly, ironically, it's only that one note. It's funny. I had other pages. I was just like, they don't matter anymore. Like, all that matters is this offensive line failing Zach Wilson. Like, that was my biggest note the whole game. Like, I was just like over and over. I was like, this is so, like, again, it just showed how important George Fant was. Like, I can't truly believe how much George Fant changed the dynamic of this offensive line. Like, it's ridiculous, like, how much he changed it. Of a guy who potentially no one wanted him when we signed him. Like, it's pretty amazing. So I'm drinking the Fant Kool-Aid, man. Like, I'm ready to go. Like, I want Becton back. I think he will be back. You remember what I said before? If they're like, Becton's back, Fant's playing left tackle, I'm like, okay. Let's ride this out. Let's see where this goes. Because, Becton is a mauler, and it's always good to have a mauler right tackle. Because that's, not all teams do this anymore, but technically that used to be the strong side. So if you're playing, weak side, strong side, then it works. I guess we'll see. Tom says you take a 3rd or 4th from Mims. Bro, after what's been going this year, I don't know if teams are going to offer a third or fourth for Mims. Like, that's the freaking sad truth of it. Like, dude, when he's seen the field, it's like the only, I feel like this is the statement that has to be made. When Denzel Mims sees the field, it seems lately like the only thing he's good for is a penalty. Like, let's be honest here. When he sees the field, that's what it feels like. That's what he's good for now. So I don't know if you're going to get a third or fourth for him, but if anything, and I think this is important, so many people questioned this coaching staff when the preseason was going on. They were questioning, well, they're stupid. They don't know what they're doing. Why aren't they playing Mims? Why is he buried so much? Why Keelan Cole? We don't get it. I think, if anything, Robert Saleh has earned us to say, okay, you clearly get this. Like, you get the players and you understand, how guys are playing and the pecking order. Like, so I think from now on, like next year, if he's like, hey, this guy's a backup, we should be like, okay. Like, let's see what he can do. Like, well, he's probably a backup for a reason, and that's what we have to start realizing. So I think Robert Saleh earned that respect a little bit, and I don't think anyone's given him enough credit for that. I don't. But I think he's earned the respect of showing, when everyone was pounding the table for Mims, that he stuck to his guns. And I, again, think Cole's underrated. Since I've been watching him this year, and I, again, love his locker room personality, I re-sign him for that alone. A guy that the players just gravitate to, and it's fun. Like, I love his personality. People say you can't pay enough for a guy like that. That's why you pay him. That's why you give him money. So he's re-signed. Done. But man, I don't know if you're going to get a third or fourth from Mims. I just don't. Because right now, like we said before, seems like the only thing he's good for is a penalty. I mean, sucks, but kind of the thing. James, appreciate you. Appreciate all my guys there. Appreciate all you guys out there. Says build the wall. Man, we gotta. Like, people, so many people, when I tweeted out the image of Linda, check it out. I love it. I looked through specific videos. I found the ones of Linderbaum just murdering people. Like him just, like I said, just picking them up and putting them down like ragdolls. Like, these are grown defensive linemen. They're in college, but they're still huge men. Excuse me. He's picking them up and just putting them down. It's ridiculous. But people saying we don't need offensive line. We saw George Fant literally showed us, and surprisingly at that, how just that one guy made such a huge difference. And we talked before about McGovern. He's been okay, but it's not good enough. We need that next guy. I would have loved it to be Creed. We got to get Linderbaum. You plug him next to AVT. Let McGovern battle it out with LDT. Remember, guys, what I said? I think LDT might win. I'll be honest. The way LDT's been playing, I think he'll beat out McGovern. But let the two of them battle it out. I think that's a damn good offensive line. I think adding just one guy, and that's the point, adding just one guy in the draft potentially makes this offensive line and takes it to a whole nother level. But appreciate all you guys. Zachary points out, appreciate you, Zachary, saying trade up for Hutch. I like Hutchinson, but man, I'm like, if we're trading up, like, if you're going up, go up for it all. You know what I mean? Like, get everything. So I say we get the bow. That's what I'm saying. If you're trading up, I honestly feel like the 4th overall, because it's only 3 drops. It's big when you have a guy like the bow, but I'm thinking like, 39th overall, which is our 2nd round pick, and maybe like a 4th or a 5th. It sounds like a lot, but again, you're getting like that guy. If you can get that guy, you give whatever you can for him. Because we talked about it. Jonathan Abraham wasn't here long enough. Arguably, we've never, ever had a guy like that. Ever. So I'm saying we go for it, man. I'm saying we find a way for Joe to pull his magic, get up there and get Thibault, and just make Jet fans praise the ground that he walks on. That's what I'm saying. Get the bow, get Hutchinson. Sorry, Linderbaum. I got Hutchinson on the brain now. It's funny, my man. So you trade up, you get the bow, and then you get Linderbaum with that later first. Yeah, you don't have a 2nd round pick, but come on, you won the draft. In my opinion, it's over. Like I said before, the Jets get those 2 guys. You hand Joe Douglas the trophy. Like, that's it. The draft is over. You won. Like, that's it. Got Broadway Jets here, my man. I appreciate you. Come on, man. Who's your mid-round draft sleeper? That's a good question. And I'll be honest, I mentioned it before to everybody. I haven't jumped too into the draft process yet, unfortunately, myself. It just, with teaching and everything, with the new job, I've been following a lot of college football. So I've watched the teams and I've watched them play and I've watched the prospects, but I haven't dug deep enough into the later round guys. I'll be honest. I do plan on doing that soon. But if I was going to bring up my board, or my apologies, a board, one that there was a couple of guys that I saw that I really liked. So for like later round guys, where are the edge rushers? There's one guy specifically, and I have to see the name. I don't know why I'm blanking on it at the moment. Ironically, I know you're going to make fun of me. It's an ACC school. I know I'm a big ACC guy, but man, I say you trade up to get the bow. I mean, that's it, honestly. Where's he? I'm going to tell you right now, the guy that I really liked. I think it wasn't him. I'm going to have to find him again, but I'm sorry, Xavier Thomas. My bad. That's who it was. It took me a minute to bring him up. I'm a big Xavier Thomas fan. I feel like out of Clemson, I feel like that dude is totally slept on. He was potentially considered to be a higher pick, but due to this year, he's been falling a lot. I don't know. I mean, so from what I've seen, 2021, the dude only has 4.5 sacks as of right now. So as the season went on, I like him. He's a guy that I really like. I think he slept on. He looks like the kind of guy that can fit really well in our kind of a system as a 4-3 outside guy because of his size. So that's one guy that I liked, just bringing him. There was another edge rusher. If you guys want to check him out, there was another later round guy that I saw. Yeah, I'm going to have to dig more. And I will be. Don't you worry, you guys. I will be digging as time goes on. Haven't too much yet, but I definitely plan to. But there were a couple of guys. I want to say it was an NC State guy. I want to say. But there were a couple of guys that I really did like. A couple of guys I will be telling you about. Look forward to bringing them up, telling you guys about them. But I see Jeremy's got a bunch of comments. But yeah, all you guys, I appreciate all you guys being here. Appreciate all you guys tuning in, checking out, being here, part of the podcast. Really, really appreciate it. Matt, appreciate you coming in, my man. That's exciting stuff. Glad you joined us. Much, much appreciated. But yeah, man, we look at all those positions I went through. I feel like this team isn't that far off. I truly do. And we talked about all those positions. Each one is only a player or two away. It really is. And a lot of them, as we mentioned, are set. A lot of them look really good as they are. So a lot of people are saying, because we had a lot of bad games, but rookie head coach, rookie OC, rookie quarterback, one of the youngest teams. It's going to be volatile. It's like a roller coaster now. And I know it's like an EKG that's going to stop our hearts. I know, guys, I know. We're up or down, we're up or down. Just don't let it flatline. That's it. Just don't let it flatline. But we're getting there. And I truly feel, again, like we mentioned, you guys, if you came in later, check out the whole episode. We went through every single position, and we're not as far off as people think. We really aren't. But as you see on the bottom there, we got to finally find our kicker. We have to finally find him. Excuse me. It's so important that we do. Jeremy's pointing out the Raiders win. He's giving us the play-by-play on the Raider game, which is appreciated. Much, much appreciated. It's exciting. It's exciting when you got 2 games. Very, very exciting. But like always, I appreciate you guys tuning in. I appreciate you guys being here as part of the Take Flight Spit and Fire podcast. Thank you for taking time on your Monday evening. And I always enjoy bringing the NFL stuff to you guys. As I mentioned, I'm going to be digging much, much deeper as we get a little closer to drafts, to prospects, watching the film from, what I've seen and digging more into it. And I'm going to be bringing you guys that. And I really, really can't wait. But there's a few guys I mentioned so far that I do really like, and I mentioned them to you guys. But again, I thank you guys for tuning in. I look forward and appreciate seeing you guys next week. I hope you guys have a great rest of your week. Hope we kick some butt on Sunday, and let's go Jets.